All right, so you're going to choose another ActionScript 2.0 file, and in in Poland Pickup, you are going to find a file to import to the stage, and it is called Cactus Flower. The size of this obviously is bigger than the stage, so I'm going to go ahead and reduce the height of it to 400 because that's the width, the height of the stage. However, then the width doesn't match, so I'm going to make this 550. There we go. And then it'll just be a little bit taller than the stage. Once I get it, I will use my align panel to align horizontal center and align vertical center. There we go. And that should keep any edges. All right, so this is going to stay on a layer by itself. So I'm going to lock that layer. I'm going to make a new layer. I'll go ahead and call this one flower. And this might be a good time for you to actually use your tablet. I'm going to call this one outline. And we're going to need our pencil tool and not object drawing mode. Okay, so I've turned that off. It's light gray. And I want smooth. And basically what I'm going to do is I am going to make, and I'm going to leave my stroke at 1, and I'm going to make my stroke color, I think, black. I may change that later, but for now, black. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here in the center, and I am going to make little outlines of all of the curves of the flower. Now, the nice thing about this is that it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, if it's a little bit off, that is quite all right. Now, you don't want it to be so sloppy that you can't tell that it's following the curves of the flower. But something close is good. Now, this flower does have little sharp edges. Don't worry about those sharp edges. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and press pause on my recording until I get finished with this. And so when I come back, yours should look something like mine. So you want to go ahead and hit pause as well so that you can finish all the tracing. All right, now when I click on this keyframe, I'll be able to see all the lines that I've drawn around all of the leaves of the flower. Because I drew it in merge mode, it's a shape, and I can see the little dots on it. Now, I drew it with the pencil, which means it's actually an outline. What we have to do now is go to the Modify menu, Shape, and choose to convert lines to fills. Doesn't make much of a difference. However, it does make it a little bit thinner. And since it made it a little thinner, we now want to go up to Modify, Shape, and expand Fill by 1 pixel. Okay, it's just going to make it a little bit thicker. Okay, so then I'm going to make this new layer, and I'm just going to call this Gradient Bar. I'm going to get my rectangle tool, and I want to have a transparent stroke, and I'm going to go ahead and choose this first gradient, the linear gradient, modify it after we draw it. So I'm drawing the rectangle down here at the bottom. If I come over here to my color panel, I'll actually see the gradient at the bottom. And what I want is I want to move that slider over to the middle, and I want to choose gray. And then I want to add another color box at the bottom, and I do that just by clicking. And this one will be white. Okay, so I have white, gray or silver, and then white again. Now, my gradient is going left to right. I actually want it on here to go from top to bottom. So I'm going to now choose my gradient transform tool, which is docked underneath the free transform tool. And see the little circle up here? I am going to drag that to where it is pretty much straight above it. Oops, that's not quite straight. Let me see if I can straighten that. That's pretty close there. And then there's a little box up there, which I know is hard to see, but if I drag that down, that's making the gradient a little tighter. And now I have white, silver, and white on that rectangle. And that's exactly how I want it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and insert frames with an F5 on all three layers out here at frame 100. And on that gradient layer, I'm going to choose that rectangle, and I want to convert it to a symbol. And I'm just going to go ahead and call it gradient bar, and a graphic is fine. Then I'm going to put a motion tween on it. Okay, and basically what I want it to do is here at the end of my animation, I want this bar, and I'll zoom out a little bit. It's starting, whoops, let me make sure it's starting in the right place. It's starting just off stage, and then at the end, I'm going to move my playhead. I want it to finish just off stage at the top. Okay, that way it would repeat itself. Okay, all right, now I'm going to reorder my layers. So I'm going to drag the gradient just underneath the outline. And now that I have an outline, or sorry, the outline at the top, I'm going to use this as my mask. And now you can see that gradient acting kind of like, I don't know, like a spotlight, outlining the flower as it goes up. And of course, when I did that, I noticed that I missed a piece over here at the left, but that's okay. I got most of them. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking two things. One, it's going a little bit slow, so I'm going to speed it up. Number two, that gradient bar is a little big. Okay, so I'm going to unlock my layers, and I'm actually going to hide my outline layer first. Well, actually, I need to unmask it. Sorry. I'm going to unmask it so that I can see my gradient. All right, now I need to find it. There we go, right there. And I want to reduce the size of it. And since, actually I'm going to use instead of using that tool, I'm going to use the properties so that I can make it the exact same size at the bottom and the top. So here, the width I'm going to keep the same. So I'm going to unlock that link, and I'm going to make the height of it 20. I think that's going to look better. Then I'm going to go to that final keyframe, and I'm going to do the same thing there. Find it. It looks like it went with it. Yes. Okay, so it did it in both places. All right, now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to take out about 25 keyframes. So I'm going to come, or frames, not keyframes, sorry. I'm going to come here to there, and I'm going to control click and choose, where is it? Remove frames. And now that's going to speed that up a little bit because it's got less time to work with. And I like that timing better. So now I'll mask that outline layer again. Oops, I hit it. That's why it didn't work. There we go. Now that's moving at a little better pace for me. Okay. All right. So that's another way that you can add an effect. Using a mask, you can make things kind of look like they're glowing or like it's got a light shining on the edges of it by using a couple extra layers here. So let's go ahead and save this as into your flash folder of Course in Schools, period number, your last name, and mask outline. And hit save. And then of course command return so that you have the Swift file to update to your Google site.